Ohai. Kazan. The city in Russia, the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan, large port on the left bank of the river of Volga when falling the river into its cauldrons. The most populated city in the Volga Federal District and on the Volga River. One of the largest economic, scientific, education, religious, cultural and sports centers of Russia. The Kazan Kremlin is among UNESCO World Heritage Sites. City of Labor Valor. Historically capital. Center of the Kazan Khanate, Kazan County, Kazan Province and Tatar Asar. The city has the registered third capital of Russia brand. In 2005 the Millennium of Kazan was celebrated. Kazan repeatedly hosted the international competitions of the high level in different types of sport, including the 27 World Summer Universiade in 2013 and also a number of matches of the FIFA World Cup of 2018. In 2014 in the rating of the website about TripAdvisor travel as the most quickly developing destinations, the capital of Tatarstan took the 8th place in the world and the 3rd place in Europe. In 2017-2018 in the rating of Urban Kazan took the 3rd place in the rating of the cities of Russia, most popular with tourists. This city district borders on the Zelenodolsk, High Mountain, Pestrochinski, Lyashevsky districts, on the water area of the Kubyshev Reservoir, on Verkhnyaslansky district. The decree of the President of the Russian Federation of July 2, 2020 to the city gave the rank City of Labor Valor. Geographical location. Kazan is located on the left bank of the river of Volga, when falling the river into its cauldrons, in 820 came to the east from Moscow. Thanks to profitable geographic location, Kazan long since was a reseller between the east and the west. Geographical coordinates. 55 AN 49 AL of Gao. Coordinate of so-called 0 kilometer. Kazan is in our zone Moscow time. Moscow time. Shift of the applied time concerning Utes is +300. According to the applied time and geographical longitude, average solar midday in Kazan comes at 11:44. Geography. City extent from the north on the south -29 km, from the west on the east -31 km. The city in the western, central and southwest part comes to the Kubyshev Reservoir throughout about 15 km. In Kazan there is one bridge through Volga, for extreme western border of the territory of the city. The river of the cauldron flows from the northeast on the west through the middle of the city and divides Kazan into 2 parts, commensurable across the territory, historical to the south from the river and newer over the river to the north. 2 parts of the city are connected by 5 dams and bridges and also the subway line. The nature of a relief of the city, flat to rolling. In the central part of the city there are Zabulechi, Predkabani, Zakabani's low plains, the sublime plain Arsk field and certain hills, Kremlin and University. Marusaki, Fedosivsky, the first mountain, the second Gor, Amityevo, the new Tatar settlement, and others are allocated. In the direction on the southeast and the east the territory of the city in general smoothly raises, and large residential massifs Gorky, Azino and also Nagony, Tobishki are located at the ISO heights of 20-40 meters and above, than a part of the historic center, southwest areas in Zarki. In Zarki the mountain and also hills of settlements in the north of the city is allocated Zilantov. In different places there are ravines and similar at the local extended lowerings of the area. The territory of the city is characterized by very considerable share of a surface of the water. A strip of a part of the water area of Volga more than 2 km wide, along the western border of the city, and also mainly shallow determination and the new mouth of the river of the Cauldron about 1 km wide, completely in the territory of the city, were created at emergence of the Kubyshev Reservoir in the middle of the 20th century instead of many times narrower natural rivers. Also a surface of the water of the city is among the system beginning in the downtown and going south from 3 large Kaban Lake, Nizhny Novgorod. Near. Average, top. Distant. Smaller lakes on the periphery, Swan, Deep Blue, small reservoirs in different places, including unusual in the middle of quarters of the multi-storied massive New Savinovo. Man-made lakes Emerald, Komsomol, Bulak Channel in the downtown, the small Noksa rivers, the Dry River and others on the periphery. From the former mouth of the river of the Cauldron there was small Staritsa. In the water area of Volga there are small islands of Marquis and others. In southeast and east part of Zaraki the river of the Cauldron has boggy, insignificant and stable islands and water inundated meadows. Along coast of Volga and Cauldrons in a number of places are available hydro protection dams. Levels of Volga and Cauldrons in the city from time to time fluctuate to several meters seasonally and some separate years in general and very strongly depend on activity of the Volga hydroelectric power station. Actually are defined by it. In particular, summer of 2010 record abatement of the water level of a reservoir from averages for half a century of values strongly bared coast of Volga and temporarily narrowed determination and the mouth cauldrons practically up to the natural width. Climate of Kazan, moderately continental, hard frosts and the scorching heat are rare and are not characteristic of the city. The most frequent winds are southern and western. The calm happens on average 13 days in a year. Snow cover moderate, reaches the maximum height in February and March -38 CS. The number of clear, cloudy and cloudy days in a year -40, 169 and 149 respectively. Most cloudy month November, the least cloudy, July and August is. In the fall and there are fogs, only 16 days in a year in the spring. Average temperature in the summer +17. 20 C, in the winter -9. 12 C. The long heat broke the record on temperature in July, and then in August, 2010. On August 1 temperature reached +39.0 C in a shadow. The record of a minimum was set on January 21, 1942. 46.8 C. The greatest possible height of snow cover -150 centimeters. Average annual speed of wind is 3.6 m/s, and humidity of air -75%. Weather with a steady positive temperature is established, on average, at the end of March, the beginning of April, and with a steady average temperature it is below zero, at the end of October, the beginning of November. The most part of an atmospheric precipitation drops out from June to October, their maximum falls on June, and at least for March. Within a year the average number of days with rainfall, about 197. Of 11 days in May up to 24 days in December. There was most rainy month a June, 1978 when 217 of rainfall dropped out. At regulation of 17. February 1984, August 1972 and October 1987 when in Kazan rainfall in general was not observed were the most droughty months. The lower overcast is 4.1 points, the general overcast minus 6.7 points. The main environmental problems are air pollution, unsuccessful quality of waters of Volga, cauldrons and other reservoirs within the city, insufficient gardening of the city and also utilization of garbage. Despite an unsatisfactory situation, Kazan is not included into the list of the cities of Russia with the largest level of air pollution and also is the only large city in the Russian Federation which is completely processing waste. In 2010 emissions of the pollutants p. in the air basin from stationary sources of pollution of more than 1,700 enterprises and the organizations of the Republic, according to estimated data, made 255,000 tons against 263,000 tons in 2009. Lump of emissions from stationary and mobile sources was 543.4 thousand tons. From them 47% are the share of industrial enterprises and 53% on transport. On extent of air pollution 11 critical zones and 3 zones of risk are allocated. A northern part of Kazan where such large sources of pollution as the Kazan synthase plant, CHEP-2 and CHEP-3 work belongs to risk zones with the maximum concentration of harmful substances. The main substances pollutants of air are volatile organic compounds, nitrogen oxides, carbon oxide, hydrocarbons and dioxide of sulfur. In 2010 Kazan especially sharply faced a problem of the smog caused by wildfires in the region when maximum allowable concentrations on harmful substances were repeatedly exceeded. The amount of dumpings of sewage into superficial water objects of Kazan minus 254 molnem. In a year from them 45 molnem. It is the share of industrial enterprises. The largest dumpings of water are made by Vodokanal Municipal Unitary Enterprise and also the Kazan synthase plant and Kazan plant of synthetic rubber. The main substances pollutants of water are suspended substances, chlorides, nitrates, nitrites, sulfates, phosphates and ammonium nitrogen. The area of green plantings of Kazan minus 98 km that makes 23% of the square of the city, only a half from demanded according to standards. The quantity of green zones is only 20% of regulation, the most problem are new areas of multi-storied building. In Kazan 2 solid waste landfills, Samosairovo and on Himicheskaya street work, at the same time the Samosarovsky polygon already exhausted the opportunities and demands recultivation. Also 2 waste sorting complexes with a gross performance of 250,000 tons per year work. In Kazan comprehensive programs, Green Record and the Blossoming Kazan were started and implemented. Annually about 5 million flowers land. Within the city project, Green Record, 530,000 m of new lawns are laid, 78 km of an automatic watering system are laid, the area of flower registration of the city is doubled. New life was found by one of city sites, Bulak Canal where the gushing complex 1.4 km long was mounted. In 2011 the park of the harvest equipment grew by a quarter, 6 stationary points and 2 mobile snow melting cameras are constructed. In 2014 the construction of 3 treatment facilities on networks of the stormwater drainage system is completed.
And to reduce concentration of harmful substances in air, all public transport in Kazan is transferred to standards of Euro 3 and Euro 4.
Only Volga water intake electrolysis unit for production of hypochlorite of sodium is put into operation. It's allowed to refuse water purification by means of chlorine and safe for health, and to pass to the European standards of disinfecting of tap water. According to the official version accepted now, the city was founded more than 1,000 years ago. Expected date of emergence of the city settlement on the place of Kazan -1004-1005. The basis for such dating is the Czech coin found during excavation in the territory of the Kazan Kremlin dated street. Vaclav's government. Presumably, stampings of 929-930 years. And become the earliest Czech coin, remaining balance of a stone laying and a wooden city fencing, objects of crafts and utensils. An overlay of the Hungarian type, a women's beads and other. And also other artifacts with less obvious dating. On official approvals, specialists from 20 cities of Russia and from 22 countries of the world were involved in studying of the finds concerning age of Kazan. Kazan was founded as boundary fortress in the north of the Volga, Bulgaria. In the 13th, 14th centuries, Kazan endures growth, becomes the important shopping and political center as a part of the Golden Horde. Growth of the city is promoted also by a successful geographical location on crossing of the large trade ways connecting the east and the west. The first written mention of the city meets in the Rogoski Chronicler. At summer 6899, 1391. The same summer Novgorod Velikogo's Novorodian and the Ostiashina to the Brezina, another two that having copulated a Vidosha in the Sieda and Inushka the Vyatka river on a bottom and Evzaj Sukutin, both a Pograbisha everything, and Kazan, and Pakov a Vidish to Volga and a Pograbish all, and designate to Takov a Poidush. In this chronicle Kazan is already called by the center of one of sultanates, along with Bulgar, Chukota and Kremenchuk. During the same period stamping of own coins with indication of the place of stamping, Bulgar Aldadid, that is the New Bulgar began. Kazan Khanate. In 1438 Bulgar fortress Kazan, claim Kazan, was captured by the overthrown Zolotudardinsky Khan Ulu Muhammad, who killed the local prince Lebedaya and moved fortress to the modern place. According to the Russian chronicles, the city became the capital of the Kazan Khanate. Production leather, pottery, weapon developed. Kazan had commercial relations with Moscow, the Crimea, Turkey and other regions. The city of Afanasy Nikitin, who mentioned it in the traveling notes of Hoshinai for 3 Seas, visited about 1469. This series of wars with the Moscow Principality at first forced Moscow to render tribute to the Kazan Khanate, and as a result led to capture of Kazan by troops of Ivan the Terrible in 1552, with the subsequent destruction of the most part of the city and resettlement of Tatars on marshy coast of Kaban Lake, where the old Tatar settlement of Kazan was mortgaged. After final suppression of revolts in the Kazan region at the city, a new era in the history as a part of the Russian kingdom began. In 1556 construction of the new, white stone Kremlin began in the become empty city. Tatars were forbidden to lodge closer than 30 versts from the city. Installed 7,000 Russians who by order of Ivan the Terrible were moved the whole settlements from the different Russian cities, and the Kazan Tatars were moved for a wall of the wooden posset of Kazan, for Bulat Canal, having laid thus The foundation for the unique territory of Old Kazan, the Old Tatar settlement. One of the Russia's first printing houses was founded on a boundary 16th and 17th centuries in Kazan. In the 17th century in the city economic growth was observed, craft settlements were mortgaged, the first manufactories appeared. In 1708 Kazan became the capital of the large Kazan province. From 1760th years building of the city accepts ordered character, wooden pavements, bridges through Bulak and to the cauldron appeared. In total about 22,000 people, and with suburban settlements, more than 40,000, and from them only about 10%, Tatars lived in Kazan by the end of the 18th century. The city became the education and cultural center of the Volga region. In 1758 in Kazan the Russia's first provincial gymnasium, in 1771, the first madrasas opened, in 1791 the permanent theatre appeared.
Organization in 1804 of the Kazan University, the Russia's third, the large scientific center which set in the country the status became an important event.
In the second half of the 19th century there were significant changes in infrastructure of Kazan. There were gas, 1874. Also an electric, 1897. Lighting, horse tram, 1875. And electric tram, 1899. Telegraph, 1859. And phone number, 1881. The 20th century on our time. In the 20th century the city was expected by big shocks. Kazan became one of the centers of revolution. In 1918 to the country during civil war heavy fighting was conducted. In 1920 the decree about formation of the autonomous Tatar Socialist Soviet Republic was signed with the capital in Kazan.
In the 1930th years the intensive industrialization of the city which was followed by rapid growth of the population began.
The new enterprises were constructed, new combined heat and power plants are put into operation. In days of the Great Patriotic War to Kazan the large plants were evacuated, including the Moscow aircraft factory of S.P. Korbanov, the Voronezh engine building plant.
A part of Academy of Sciences of the USSR is thrown. Industrial enterprises were transferred to production of military products for needs of the front. Kazan was included in number of 20 cities of the USSR which are subject to atomic bombing according to the first post-war plan of war against the USSR developed in the USA in 1945 and also joined in the subsequent similar plans. After the Great Patriotic War active development of the city continued. In 1979 the population of the city exceeded 1 million people.
In 1990 the city was announced by the capital of the Sovereign Republic of Tatarstan. Since the beginning of a market era in the 1990s of Kazan it was succeeded to become one of the most important inter-regional political, financial, sports, tourist centers of the country. At the same time, up to the beginning of the old years Kazan used ill fame of one of the most criminal cities of Russia. In the list of the Russian cities on population the city rose to the 5th place. In 2005 the Millennium of Kazan to which the Kazan subway, Millennium Bridge and some other objects were built was solemnly celebrated. The Kazan Kremlin became a memorial object of UNESCO. About 1 million tourists a year began to visit the city. Etymology. About origin of the name of Kazan there are several versions and legends. Most often appeal to the version of the begun to boil copper. His sorcerer advised Bulgars to build the city where without any fire the copper, frailty in the earth, with water will boil. As a result, the similar place was found on the bank of Kazan Lake. From here also the name of the city of Kazan went. The cauldron on Tatar means copper. Other versions connect a city name with a landscape. The Tatar words Kayan, birch, Arkaz, goose, the Prince Hassan and other options. According to I.G. the Brodamav, the name Kazan reconstructed Alania Bertoskoy connected with location of the city at an abrupt bend of the riverbed of Volga was primary. On the Chuvash soil it turned into Kazan, and in the Russian used to Kazan. The territory of the city of Republican value Kazan is divided into 7 administrative and territorial units. The areas in the city, which are not municipal units. Aircraft manufacturing, Bakitovsky, Kirovsky, Moscow, New and Savanovsky, Volga, Soviet. Since the end of 2010, administrations of the following areas are joint: New and Savanovsky in aircraft manufacturing, based on New and Savanovsky administration. Volga and Vakitovsky, based on the Volga administration. Moscow and Kiev, based on the Kiev administration. Each of areas is divided into several not having administrations of accounting housing estates. In peripheral settlements, local government authorities are organized. The first in territory area is Volga, the most populated, Soviet, the smallest in territory and the most plotnonaseleny, New and Savanovsky, the smallest in population, Vakitovsky. 2 areas have large peripheral settlements exclaves, Soviet. Settlement of Derbishki and Kirovsky. Settlement of Udino. In Kazan, authorities of actually city municipal unit and also the Republic of Tatarstan are located. The mayor is the mayor. The mayor's position in Kazan is the city Duma elected by deputies from the number. Since November 17, 2005 this position is held by I.R. Metchin. The Duma holds the sessions in a city town hall. The city council is rule-making body of the city of Kazan. Duma elections are held time in 5 years. The chairman of City Duma is the mayor. In addition to him, the presidium of the Duma includes also 2 of his deputies, the senior for each the deputy and heads of 7 permanent commissions. On social and economic development and municipal property. On budgetary and financial questions, the local taxes and charges, by training, to affairs of children and youth, to physical culture and sport. On town planning and housing and communal services. On social protection, culture and ethnic questions. On ecology and health protection of citizens. Concerning legality, law and order and to local government. Executive Committee. The committee represents municipal executive authority. The head of Executive Committee since October 21, 2020, R.G. Gafarov. Management of activity of administrations of 7 districts of the city, the office of Executive Committee and also being its part of structural divisions belongs to duties of the head. Historical symbol of Kazan is the mythical Drakonopodobny being of Zealand who is often mentioned in legends. For example, when numerous dragons and reptiles strongly interfered with development of the city, hunters moved off in searches of the Tsar of Snakes and defeated him. According to other version, residents paid off from a huge dragon with gold, then all snakes left the city.
Other legend claims that the huge Drakonabadobni dragon always guarded Hansky treasures and that it protects the cities of wealth hidden before capture in undercover caves to this day.
It is historically reliable that dragons were once numerous in the Kazan region, but then their number was sharply reduced. The first official coat of arms of Kazan was approved on October 18, 1781 and was described how, a serpent black under a crown gold, Kazan, wings red, the field white. In 1926 in the country the ban on similar heraldry was entered. In the 1980th year started talking about the coat of arms of Kazan again, and in the 1990s Kazan Zillant in various tracings began to appear in printing editions. Modern graphics of the coat of arms and flag appeared in 2005, in the silver field on the green earth a black dragon with dark red wings and language, with gold paws, claws and eyes, topped with a gold crown. The board is topped with the Kazan heading. By traditions of heraldry, the dragon symbolizes power, wisdom and invincibility, the earth, life and wealth, a crown, development, and the heading over a board, capital character of the city. Kazan conducts vigorous international activity. In the city there are foreign diplomatic and trade and cultural missions. The Kazan Kremlin and Institute of Culture of the World consist under the auspices of UNESCO. The city participates in twinning and partner movements, is a member of the World Organizations of the Cities.
In Kazan the summit of heads of the CISIS, the summit of security services of the world were held and other important forums, conferences and world-class actions are held.
To the capital of the Republic as to Puli what other cities of the country, the head of China, the United States Secretary of State paid visits, about 3/10 presidents and prime ministers of the foreign states. The reconstructed in 2005, international airport provides flights to dozens of the cities of the different countries, excepting including the largest airliners. A Class Boeing 747. And is step-by-step reconstructed in a potential hub to the Universiade-2013 and the FIFA World Cup-2018. The international railway communication from the city is organized. Kazan, the largest city of Volga Economic Region and the Volga Federal District. Around Kazan there was a compact space group of the settlements making one of the largest city agglomerations of the Russian Federation.
The draft of the concept of territorial economic policy of the Republic of Tatarstan developed in 2009 by the Ministry of Economics of the Republic of Tatarstan enters a concept of the Kazan agglomeration.
Territorially coincides with the capital economic region of Republic of Tatarstan, where in addition to Kazan 6 municipal districts of the Republic enter.
According to the scheme of territorial planning of the Republic of Moriel include in structure of the Kazan agglomeration also the cities of Volsk and Zvenigovo. The general population of agglomeration -1.56 million people behind city boundaries within its agglomeration as planned. The actual growth of Kazan in the western direction.
Zalesny, Orahovka, Vasilyevo. The settlement of cottage building of Orakok appeared at a boundary of Ord in 2010 in the middle of this direction.
Since 2012, according to the Sotsipotechny program, the construction of the 100,000 sleeping multi-storied satellite town, Salavet Cooper, between Zalesny and Orahovka begins.
Further also creation after Vasilyevo of the 150,000 satellite town, Greendale, is planned. Dynamics.
Being based as a northwest outpost, the Bulgar Kazan throughout long time did not play a major role in life of the Volga Bulgaria. In this connection, it is impossible to precisely estimate the population of the city.
The first estimates of population of Kazan belong to an era of the Kazan Khanate. To the middle of the 16th century, from about 250,000 Kard people, mainly Tatars, lived in the city. The followed capture of the city in 1552 was followed by utter ruin and depopulation. The population of Kazan fell in many times. At the same time also the national players of the city are also sharply changed. It becomes mainly Russian. In 1907, from citizens of Kazan of 81.7% were Russians. The notable demographic failure is connected with revolution and the civil war which followed it. For 3 years the population is reduced more than by a quarter. Throughout all Soviet stage of history, Kazan experiences significant growth. The million resident is born on November 16, 1979. Together with growth, there is also an alignment of shares of the Russian and Tatar population to parity values, in many respects because of prevalence of Tatars in rural areas of Tatar from where there was a migration to the city. The depopulation observed since the beginning of the 1998 years almost in all Russian cities, including million-strong cities in Kazan, was not shown, and the city continued growth. Though the birth rate continued to remain lower than death rate up to 2009, when natural increase of the population was recorded. The total growth of the population of the city was connected with migration inflow and inclusion in city boundaries of new settlements. At the same time, the population of the attached territories was 20.2 thousand people, and growth of the population of the city, the persons made 52,000. Growth rates of birth rate in the city became one of the highest in the world for the last 20 years. If in 2088 34 children, then in 2016 were born, already 24564 child, that is the birth rate grew for these years by 2.78 times. National structure. Kazan is one of the most multinational territories of Russia. Representatives over 115 nationalities live in the territory of the city. Two largest nationalities in Kazan are Russians, 48. 6% of 554.5 thousand people on a population census of 2010. And Tatars, 47.6% of 542.2 thousand people. Chuvash, 0.8% of 9.0 thousand people. Ukrainians, 0.4% of 4.8 thousand people. And Maris, 0.3% of 3.7 thousand people. Also enter the 5. Crime. In the late 80s, the beginning of the 1990th years, the broad popularity was purchased by the term Kazan phenomenon, which arose in criminology in the late 70s. The term meant the criminal youth groups arising by the territorial principle in Kazan. In 1978 in the city there took place legal procedure, the first for half-century, on which defendants were condemned under the Article 77 by a Kursvers, gangsterism. Subsequently Kazan received reputation of one of the criminal centers of the USSR and the Russian Federation. In the second half of decade many leaders of an organized criminal group were condemned. Because of the Kazan phenomenon, sociologists call that the capital Tatar, the USSR, strongly lagged behind in the organization of the social infrastructure calculated on service of teenagers.
In 1987, about the Kazan teenage groups, the documentary Terrible Games of Young People was shot.
In total for 2010 in Kazan, crimes are registered. In a year, 82 murders which solvability was more than 90% were committed. 588 burglaries and 1488 cases of drug trafficking, 5639 facts of street crimes are also registered.
One of the largest serial killers of the Asr, the 1970th, the maniac cannibal Alexei Suplitin, who killed and ate 7 women and girls together with the accomplice Medina Shakarova, lived the 1980th years in Kazan.
In 1985 the maniac was arrested. Suplitin was sentenced to death and in 1987 is shot according to the court verdict. On May 11, 2021 in Gymnasium No. 175 there was a massacre as a result of which 9 people died and 32 were wounded. Economy. Kazan, one of the largest industrial, financial, shopping and tourist centers of Russia, leading on investments into fixed capital and construction, the city of the Volga region. In 2017 the gross product of the city made 752.5 billion rubles. The amount of outcrushiny products was 428.3 billion rubles, retail turnover minus 524.4 billion rubles. Long-term credit rating of Kazan is confirmed with the Fitch agency at the level of BBs. The industrial basis of the city is made by mechanical engineering, the chemical and petrochemical industry, the light and food industry. Kazan Orgsintas, the Kazan powder mill, oldest in Russia, and a unique cluster in Russia at once of 3 enterprises of the aviation industry, the plants of aircraft construction of Kopo. The producer of the world's largest strategic Tu-160 bomber. Helicopter engineering of Kevs and engine building of Kempo are distinguished from the largest enterprises of Kazan, a large-scale chemical complex. In Kazan there is headquarters of 6 companies entering in top -500, the first in revenue enterprises of Russia. The total area of city business centers is 330,000 m, from them 127,000 m belong to the classes A and B. On the aggregate capital of own banks, Kazan takes the 3rd place in Russia, conceding only to Moscow and St. Petersburg. The innovation economy in Kazan is provided by the IT Park and also one of the biggest, largest in Russia, in Europe, Science and Technology Park IDEA. In Kazan the electronic trading platform, only outside Moscow, on order placement for federal needs works. Throughout all post-Soviet period, Kazan is the leader in residential construction in the Volga region and one of leaders in Russia, as according to state programs of liquidation of shabby housing earlier and a social mortgage then, and commercial housing. Especially widely implemented in Kazan, Republican program of liquidation of shabby housing was pilot and almost unique in Russia. On security with modern shopping centers, including almost all international networks operating in Russia. Kazan takes the leading positions in Russia. In 2010 retail turnover was 259 billion rubles. In addition to trade, in the city there were other large objects of the multinational and domestic companies, such as Korsten Hotel Shopping Mall, venue of business forums, Hotel Akaparkovi, the Riviera Complex, the Kazan Oceanarium, etc. According to the estimates made in the report of the World Bank and the International Finance Corporation, business in Russia -2009, Kazan is in the lead on the level of usefulness of conditions for business, advancing many largest cities, including St.
Petersburg and Moscow.
In rating the best cities for business of Forbes in 2010, Kazan took the 15th place among the Russian cities entering rating. In 2008 the third place, in 2009 the second place. In 2012 Kazan took the 6th place in the rating of quality of the urban environment made by the Ministry of Regional Development of the Russian Federation, the Russian Union of Engineers, Federal Construction and Housing and Communal Services Agency, Federal Service for the Oversight of Consumer Protection and Welfare, and also Lomonosov Moscow State University. In 2019 to Kazan there arrived 3.5 million tourists. At all seasons of the year numerous tourists actively visit the Kazan Kremlin, a monument of the World Heritage of UNESCO, and numerous other sites of Kazan and also vicinities.
The circus, the alpine skiing and sports Kazan complex and Hotel Akaparkovi the Riviera complex work considerably for inhabitants of the Republic and the neighboring regions.
To the purpose of development of tourism and attraction of additional investments by administration of Kazan on just Millennium Zealand City founded by it in Rospat until 2017 the trademarks, third capital of Russia, third capital, third city of Russia, third city and also Russia as third capital are registered.
Kazan is officially recognized the gastronomic capital of Russia. On January 20, 2021 the trademark was issued by Federal Service for Intellectual Property. The hotel complex of Kazan is provided by 161 hotels on 7,400 numbers. 16137 places. Including 34 hostels. In 2015 the coefficient of security with numbers in Kazan makes 7.4 numbers on 1,000 people. In 2015 for the purpose of development of tourist attractiveness in Kazan there took place the Festival of School Studios of the Ballet of Olodokova Toads, the Gastronomic Festival, Tasty Kazan, Second Kazan Star Velenik, the International Art Exhibition, United Buddy Bears, the Minis in Kazan, under the motto Art and Tolerance, the first International Festival of the Argentina Tango, Fuego de la Noche Kazan. Within the I Help project the flash mob took place Embrace the Kremlin. In 2015 Kazan was visited by 2.1 million tourists. In 2015 Kazan won the All-Russian grant on creation of excursion conducted a route, Surprising Kazan. The route of a bicycle excursion, Surprising Kazan, is girdled, begins and comes to an end at walls of the Kazan Kremlin and passes through all significant objects of the historic center of Kazan. On October 23, 2015 its official opening took place. Kazan is one of the largest transport and logistic hubs of Russia. Through the city there passes federal highways M, E22, Volga, P&P. In Kazan the railway tracks going on Ishevsk, Perm, Yekaterinburg, Ulyanovsk, Bugulma, Ufa, Nizhny Novgorod, Moscow, Uransk, Kiev are crossed. In close proximity to the city there passes Highway P and also passing of a transport corridor, Northern Europe, the Western China is planned. Transport gate of the city are International Airport Kazan. Railway stations Kazan-1 and Kazan-2. Bus stations Centralny, Yushny, Vostochny and bus station at the railway station Kazan-2. River port and river station. Public transport and privately owned vehicles are main types of transport in Kazan. Following the results of 2019, the number of cars in Kazan was 355.5 cars on 1,000 inhabitants and continues to grow.
A similar number of motor transport causes traditional jams in rush hours on all main highways of the city. Public transport in Kazan transports up to 1.5 million passengers a day. The most popular type of public transport is the bus, having 93 routes. It transports 79% of passengers. 7% of transportations, 16 routes of the trolleybus minus 14% fall to the share of several routes of the tram. All civil and preferential electronic transport smart cards act on all public transport. Also, several tens of taxi services work in the city. The birth of the million resident in 1979 allowed to apply for construction of the subway of Kazan. However, the decree on construction was signed only in 1996. The Russia's 7th Kazan subway was solemnly opened on August 27, 2005 during the celebration of the millennium of the city.
Originally it was used more as a tourist attraction, but not as a type of city transport. The number of passengers was absolutely insignificant. However, with startup of the 6th and especially the 7th stations of one line of the subway, Pobedy Avenue and the Gold Settlement, the passenger traffic in the subway sharply increased to 75,000 a day on average.
2011. And 105,000 in some days. The Kazan subway, for the first time in Russia, is having payment of driving through electronic smart counters. In addition to also smart cards. Trains only with the advanced economic asynchronous engines on alternating current and several communication systems, automation and security, in 2006 is recognized by specialists as the most modern and safe in the territory of the former Soviet Union. To the Universiade of 2013, 3 more new metro stations are open. By the millennium in Kazan, the road Millennium Bridge, which became a symbol of a holiday and a symbol of the city, was also built. In 2007, the system of bus traffic in the city was considerably reconsidered. In addition to reduction, change and renumbering by no.
99 of routes of the movement, transport reform provided almost regeneration of a bus fleet from mainly small and especially small share taxis on big, average and small buses, low floor and semi-low floor.
More convenient for elderly, disabled people and other handicapped groups of the population.
With environmental standard of the Euro-3 engine with uniform coloring of red color. The movement of all buses is monitored by means of the automated control system based on satellite navigation that is also available to any internet user. Pilot in Russia, reform was performed at the initiative of the Kazan city's mayor Metshin 1.
And later was conferred the National Transport Award Gold Chariot, and Kazan found determination as the city of red buses.
By 2013, purchase of the new park of public transport is carried out.
484 new buses, 40 new trams. 20 axum-843 and 20 axum-62103. 41 trolls and -5,275.03 trolleybuses of Optim, 9 trains of the subway. Plus 81, 740/741 Russia of the last modification are in total received. In the nearest future to roads there have to be 10 more trams and 40 units of trolleybuses. Also in Kazan, as well as in general across Tatarstan, the pilot project of the translation of public transport in Russia and the municipal equipment on gas motor fuel started. The first 130 buses on methane appeared in Kazan in 2013, however worked only for needs of the Universiade and were leased. On May 13, 2014 in Kazan to a Route 45 came the first bus on gas motor fuel. It conforms to Euro-5 standards. It is until the end of the year going to buy 65 more buses, until 2018 to transfer to gas a half of a bus fleet of Kazan. To carrying out in the city of the Universiade -2013 large-scale modernization of transport infrastructure, including prolongation of the first line of the subway, a construction more than 10 outcomes and several tens crosswalks, start of the Euro Express train, radical updating of the international airport, Kazan, construction of the transit railway and bus station. Further updating of the rolling stock of land public transport was made.
In 2014, capital repairs of an asphalt covering of 94 yards including 220 HOS adjoining territories and also 25 intra-quarter drives with a total area over 290,000 m executed.
During these actions the device more than 3,000 parking spaces is executed. More than 40,000 inhabitants suffered positive effect from the executed actions. In general, following the results of realization of a roadwork in 2014, more than 900,000 m of the Kazan streets and the yards are repaired. In 2015, 220 yards and 25 intra-quarter drives over 260,000 m are repaired. The positive effect from the executed actions was felt by more than 80,000 citizens of Kazan. For motorists in domestic territories, more than 3,000 occasional parking spaces are created.
For the last 5 years, as a result of construction and reconstruction of highways, Kazan square of a street road network increased by 2 milnem.
Also made more than 20.2 milnem. The system of preschool education is made by about 327 kindergartens. Practically all of them, except for single private institutions, are on balance of municipality. Secondary education of the city is provided by more than 168 schools. From them 2 non-state, including 43 gymnasiums and 13 lyceums. The system of additional education includes 49 musical, 10 art and 43 children's and youth sports schools. The system of professional education of the city is made by a number of secondary vocational education institutions. 28 technical training colleges, 15 technical schools and 10 averages of special schools. During the period from 2010 to 2015, 79 kindergartens on 12025 places are constructed. Practically all organizations of education are equipped with the systems of the automatic fire prevention alarm system. 100% of schools, 100% of organizations of additional education, 99% of kindergartens. And schools and kindergartens, also the systems of video surveillance.
Within implementation of the Republican Target Program, Available Environment 2011-2015, of 57 schools are adapted for training of children with limited opportunities of health.
The resource centers are created. Schools no. 57, 78, 80, 177.
Lyceum no. 121.
Soch no. 34. For children with special educational needs in all districts of the city, open the first in the city and for the Republic of Alekitik. Preschool Educational Institution No. 12 of Novosavinovsky District. For children who had no opportunity to get preschool education.
The results of 2015 schools in the rating of 100 best schools of the Republic of Tatarstan -31 Kazan schools. 9 schools were included into 500 best schools of Russia, including Lyceum No.
131 in top -25. 20 schools of Kazan, candidates for the associated UNESCO schools. 10 participate in the International Global Lab project. 44 higher educational institutions work in the city, including 19 branches and representative offices of higher education institutions from another town. For the end 2009, in which more than 140,000 students, the end 2009, get an education. Kazan is the only city in Russia having at the same time federal university and 2 national research universities. The largest higher education institutions of the city are Kazan, Volga, Federal University, at the Kazan State University, former Imperial. More than students on 40 specialties in 7 directions, and more than 600 graduate students actually studied. The professorial body made more than 1,100 people, including more than 200 professors and doctors of science, more than 500 associate professors and candidates of science. Scientific activity was performed by more than 200 research associates.
In 1996, the Kazan State University is included by the decree of the President of the Russian Federation in the State Code of Especially Valuable Objects of Cultural Heritage of the People of the Russian Federation. With fall of 2011, based on PKU and Type and KFI attached to it, there began activity the Volga Federal University, Q.
Kazan State Technical University of A.N. Tupolev, Netukai, has the status of the National Research University.
The Kazan Aviation Institute was formed based on Aerodynamic Office of the Kazan State University by the decision of Head Department of the Aviation Industry of Narkomet of the Heavy Industry on March 5, 1932.
In 1992, the Kazan Aviation Institute is transformed to the Kazan State Technical University. KSTU. Scientific capacity of the university is made. 9 faculties, 58 departments, 57 industry and problem laboratories, 10 scientific and technological centers, 3 university scientific research institutes, experimental pilot production. In K2, about 15,000 students study. The Kazan State Technology University, NITU, also has the status of the National Research University. Originates from the Kazan Connected Industrial School, opened in 1897. In 1919, the Kazan Industrial School was transformed to the Kazan Polytechnical Institute. On May 13, 1930, based on Chemical Faculty of the Kazan Polytechnical Institute and Chemical Faculty of the Kazan State University, the Kazan Chemical Institute, which since June 23, 1930 hereinafter is referred to as the Kazan Chemical Institute of Technology of 8M. Butlerov, and from April 23, 1935 to December 1992, the Kazan Chemical Institute of Technology of SM. Kirov, KT, was created. In K2 there are 11 faculties and more than 27,000 students study. The Kazan State Power University, as May branch, was opened in 1968. Received the status of the higher education institution university in 2000. Is one of 3 specialized power higher education institutions in Russia. The university conducts training of specialists in the field of power and also retraining of personnel and advanced training. In total, in higher education institution about students study. The Kazan Innovation University of 5. G. Timryasov. Yup.
Was created in 1994 at the initiative of the Ministry of Education of ORT and the Permanent Commission on National Education of the Supreme Council of the Republic of Tatarstan, and urged to satisfy needs of the region for qualified personnel for the sphere of market economy and law enforcement activity.
Science. Kazan historically was one of the main scientific centers of Russia. In the city, such outstanding discoveries as creation of non-Euclidean geometry and 1. Lobachevsky. Discovery of chemical element of ruthenium. K. Clause. Creation of the theory of the structure of organic compounds. A.M. Butler-Rav. Opening of an electronic paramagnetic resonance. E.K. Zavoysky. Opening of a photon echo. U.H. Conville 5. R. Najabarev, 1962. Opening of an acoustic paramagnetic resonance were made. S.A. Altshuler. The largest scientific centers of Kazan are. The Kazan Scientific Center RAS was founded on April 13, 1945. In its structure about 1,000 people, including 3 academicians, 6 corresponding members, 91 doctors and 290 candidates of science work. 5 academic institutes, including Institute of Organic and Physical Chemistry of A.E. Obasov, the largest physical and chemical and biological research center RAS in the Volga region, or a part of NOTS RAS. The scientific center has 7 schools of sciences, 6 educational and scientific education centers. The Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Tatarstan was founded on September 30, 1991. The Academy incorporates 7 offices in the directions of sciences and the Ulyanovsk regional office, and also 17 research institutes in the centers. Under the scientific and methodical management of Anavad, the large number of the research organizations also works. The Academy annually awards 11 personalized awards, including 2 international. On physics, a name of E.K. Zavoysky, in chemistry of A.E. Arbasov, and also an award of Shens Mardzani. In the field of the humanities, a name of G.H. Kamaya. Chemistry and chemical technologies, a name of W.A. Engelgard. Biology, a name of A.G. Terigulov. Medicine and healthcare, a name of H.M. Mushtari. Mathematics, mechanics and technical science, a name of K.G. Wall. Veterinary science, a name of 5. D. Moselev. Agriculture. A name of Anno Domini. Adu. Allergology, immunology and the general pathology. Also in the city a number of independent research institutes functions. Republican Clinical Hospital.
Foundation year of scientific medicine in Kazan. It is considered to be 1814 when in the city the clinic of the university was open.
In 1930 the medical faculty separates from the university, having a number of specialized clinics under the patronage. The known schools of sciences of Gruzdov, Myslovsky, Vishnevsky, Adu, Tarnovsky are connected with a name of the Kazan Medical School.
Among world opening.
Process of oxidizing phosphorylation. Engelgard, 1930. Experimental proof of participation of mediators in mesneuronal transfer. Kibiakov, 1933. Phenomenon of blockade of a scleralny sign. Nestorev, 1985. Professor E. 5. Adamyuk founded the first ever eye clinic. Kazan is one of the centers of healthcare, largest in Russia.
In the city 120 treatment and prevention facilities in which more than 15,000 people are employed work.
The Kazan Regional Clinico-Diagnostic Center is the medical center of high technologies for treatment of cardiovascular and neurologic diseases, largest in the Volga region. The largest clinic of Kazan is the Republican Clinical Hospital. In 2014 were opened the Children's Polyclinic, largest in Russia, on 70,000 children and teenagers, and the center of blood which does not have analogues in Russia. Kazan is one of the largest cultural centers of Russia, maintaining classical achievements and also contributing to the development of the modern, vanguard directions in many areas of culture. The capital of Tatarstan is traditionally called multicultural, meaning mutually advantageous enrichment peacefully coexisting the Russian and Tatar culture. With assistance of UNESCO in Kazan, the first ever Institute of Culture of the world was created. In Kazan annually there take place the international festivals. Operas Shaliapinsky, the Ballet Nuryevsky, classical music the Rachmaninoffsky, opera open air, the Kazan Fall, modern music Concordia, folk and rock music, creation of the world, literary, Aksiona Fest, Muslim cinema, Goldman Bar. Since 2010, the Kazan International Festival of Muslim Cinema.
Role plays of Zilant Khan, numerous festivals and tenders of federal and republican level.
In 2014 Kazan accepted the tender Turkvidenai.
In 2019 by the World Day of the Cities, which is celebrated on October 31, Kazan among 66 cities from around the world was included into network of the creative cities of UNESCO in the music direction. Taking into account the last replenishment, the network contains 246 cities, of which development creativity in different areas of manifestation is the cornerstone.
The only film studio in the Volga region, the Kazan Film Studio, works in the city. In the city there are a lot of museums, including 34 state museums, several public and private galleries.
The largest and the most versatile of them is the National Museum of the Republic of Tatarstan, founded in 1894.
The most valuable natural science, archaeological, ethnographic and many other exposures are located in the main building of the museum, the former Gostiny Dvor of 1800-1815 of construction. The branch of the State Hermitage, the Hermitage Kazan Center, works in the Kazan Kremlin. Also one of the most popular museums of the city are the Museum Iso Art, the Museum of the Millennium of Kazan, and a set of other cultural institutions. In Kazan there are several tens of all civil, high school and other libraries, from among which some of the oldest and the largest in the country, the National Library of the Republic of Tatarstan, which is operating since 1865 and having more than 3 million stored copies.
And Scientific Library of N. 1.
Lobachevsky at the Kazan, Volga Federal University are allocated, acting since 1838 and having more than 5 million copies. In the city, large number of theaters. From 9 theaters of Kazan, 3 have a rank of academic. The most known and demanded among them: Tatar Academic State Opera and Ballet Theatre of Mausa, venue of the international theatrical and musical festivals.
Tatar Academic Theatre of Galiaskar Kamel, Kazan State Academic Russian Bolshoi Drama Theatre of 5.1.
Hachalav. Also in Kazan works Circus, one of leaders in the country and having the unique building, and 12 movie theaters having 61 cinema halls, including Cimex 4D. Concerts, performances and other cultural and spectacular actions also in the State Big Concert Hall of S. Sadashev, a cultural entertainment complex, pyramid, sports and multipurpose complexes, basket hall, Tatneft Arena, sports palace, Unix and at other sites including opened during the festivals. In Kazan there are many parks: the amusement park of Kurle, parks of the Millennium, the Victory, Uritsky, the Central Park of Culture and Leisure, the Black Lake, Gardens, the Hermitage, Ladskoy, Fiksovsky, the Walk of Fame and others, and also the oldest in Russia and one of the oldest in Europe, the Kazan Zoological and Botanic Garden, are distinguished from them with an oberstruisness in popularity. In 2008 it is founded, within the annual Aktionerfest festival, the International Literary Award Star Ticket. The award is awarded for the purpose of identification and promotion of young talents in the sphere of literature and art.
The Kazan authors became the first owners of an award in 2008.
Anna Rus in the nomination to The Young Poet Entering Big Literature, and Denis Osakin in the nomination to The Young Prose Writer Entering Big Literature.
Owners the Star Ticket -2013 became 24-year-old Arushan Ovakimyan from Yerevan in the poetry nomination and the 30-year-old Petersburger Evgeny Babushkin in the prose nomination. In 2014 the Board of Trustees awarded an award to the Moscow prose writer Alexander Snegiryev, the author of novels Oil Venus and Vera, and to the playwright, the director, the actor Talgat Batalov, the author and the contractor of the performance, Uzbek. In 2015 the 25-year-old graduate student of Kazan Federal University Bulat Ibrahim became the winner in the poetry nomination.
And also the author of the novel, Zuli Kopan's Eyes, Güzel Yakina, who was born in Kazan. Much attention is paid to children's collectives in Kazan work at the state level. Youth Symphonic Orchestra of Kazan, 1000 Chorus, Children's Brass Band, Orchestra of Guitarists, Ensemble of Curists, Accordion Players and Cubisists. Three large-scale projects focused on the organization of leisure of inhabitants and guests of Kazan in summertime are implemented. Book Festival, Literary Courtyard and Summer Street Festival, Cultural Shift. In 2014 the grandiose choral project, the Singing Kazan, started.
Kazan, the city where two religions historically closely intertwine.
Islam of Sunni sense and Orthodoxy. Being official religion of the Volga Bulgaria and the Kazan Khanate, Islam is connected with the city from the moment of its basis. After gaining Ivan the Terrible, Orthodoxy becomes the predominating religion of Kazan. In 1555 the Kazan Diocese of Russian Orthodox Church was founded.
An important milestone in the history is finding in 1579 of the Kazan icon of the Mother of God, one of the most honored icons in the Russian Church. The first Mordoni mosque built in Kazan after its gain by Ivan the Terrible became the sign embodiment of the beginning of society of multi-religious toleration in Russia, proclaimed the Empress Catherine II at the end of the 18th century, and remains the historic center of Tatar Muslim spirituality.
The Judaic community was created from number of Cantonists in the 1820th years, and in 1915 the synagogue was constructed,
which represents the only Judaic center in the Volga region, uniting in itself the Molil Center, library and the organizations providing tourist services to Jews, now including help with moving to Israel. The Lutheran community appears in the city after the Livonian War of 1558-1583, and in 1771 the Lutheran Church is open.
In 1833 in Kazan Roman Catholic receipt appeared. In Kazan there are 75 mosques, and nearly 3/10 Orthodox churches. Also Catholic and Lutheran receipts, a synagogue, the Bouquet Center and the Kazan Society of Consciousness of Krishna work. In 2015 the construction of Church of Street Alexander Nevsky is completed. The space for construction of the temple was consecrated in 2007. In 2008 at the site the temporary temple chapel in honor of the Vladimir icon of the Mother of God was open. Construction works of the main temple are begun in 2010, domes and crosses were established in the summer of 2014, construction works are completed in 2015. The building on the high first floor with a decor is built in stylistics of the Mongolsky architecture. Is available 5-dome chetverk with a 3-part apse, a small refectory, the multi-level bell tower and far taken out porch. The Tukakristolny temple on 800 people is built of a brick on ancient Russian technologies of the 16th century, inside, vaulted ceilings. Anatoly Krivtsov became the architect of the majestic temple.
In the spring of 2019 the President of the Republic of Tatarstan Rustam Minikhanov appointed the ex-mayor of Kazan Kamil Iskakov the head of an initiative group concerning construction in Kazan of the new cathedral mosque with a capacity more than 10,000 people.
Religious education. Foundation in 1723 of hierarchical Slavano-Latin school is considered the beginning of spiritual formation of the Kazan diocese.
In 1733 from it there was the Kazan Theological Seminary, and in 1797 the Kazan Spiritual Academy. In 1921 the academy stops the existence, and in 1998 resumes work under the name of Theological Seminary.
In the second half of the 18th century in Kazan madrasas begin to open. In 1771 appear Akunovsky and Apanievsky madrasa, in 1780 madrasa at Amirkhanov's house. In 1882 there begins the work the known madrasa of Muhammadiyah. With receipt of the Soviet power these schools are closed. In 1993 Muhammadiyah resumes the work, and in 1998 the Russian Islamic University was open. In total in Kazan there are 29 city cemeteries with a total area of 281.1 hectares. The central necropolis is the Arski Cemetery, which is mentioned since 1766. Initially being the Orthodox Christian, now it has graves of people of various religions in the territory. Nikolay Lobachevsky, Naziba Zhiganov, Alexander Arbasov.
The cemetery of the Zilentovy Monastery is considered the oldest Russian cemetery. In 1529 the Saint Martyr Ioan was buried there.
Many famous figures of the Tatar culture. Abdullah Tukay, Shigabutin Mardzani, are buried in the cemetery of the new Tatar settlement. Since 1728. The most ancient cemetery of Kazan is in the Admiralty settlement, known since the Kazan Khanate, is partially flooded when raising the Kubyshev Reservoir in the 1960th years. Remains of Vasily Stalin buried in the Arski Cemetery in 2002 were transported to Moscow. A native of Kazan, Fyodor Shilipin, wrote in the will, "Where I died, even abroad, let I will be buried on Volga." However, its request was not complied. The most ancient Kazan arose at the beginning of the 10th century as the strengthened Bulgar fortress and was located on the northeast extremity of the Kremlin hill, top of the cape formed by a terrace of the left coast of Volga and cauldrons.
After the Mongolian invasion of 1236, the gradual eminence of Kazan begins that was promoted by outflow of the Bulgar population from the capital of the Volga, Bulgaria, ruined Badium of the city to Bulga.
At this time to the south of the Kremlin hill there is not strengthened Poset. After disintegration of the Golden Horde, Kazan becomes the center of the Kazan Khanate. The Kremlin of times of the Kazan Khanate reaches the modern area and has the walls put from oak logs in the form of the fellings, which are filled up inside with the earth and stones. The Poset is enclosed with a wooden wall. Planning of streets had tangled character and concentrated to the Kremlin. After falling of the Kazan Khanate, Kazan it begins to be reconstructed. In 1556 in Kazan there arrived 200 Skov bricklayers headed by Postnik Yakovlev and Ivan Shahram. By 1568 13 stone towers and a considerable part of walls of the Kremlin were constructed. Nowadays white stone Kremlin, the most southern example of the Skov architectural style in Russia, is included in the Code of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. It includes one of the highest in Europe and not numerous in the world from among, Falling, Swambike Tower, Spasskaya Tower, Annunciation Cathedral. The oldest Orthodox church on average the Volga region. And many other historical objects.
In 1996-2005 in the territory of the Kremlin the Kal Sharif Mosque on approximate similarity of the main mosque of the Khanate which was once there is built. At the Kremlin administrative functions remain so far, in it there are a residence of the President of Tatarstan, its device and office. Therefore today the Kazan Kremlin is the center of statehood of the Republic. The Kremlin, the favorite place of the numerous tourists coming to Kazan, especially or who appeared here in transit. The Tatar Hermitage, historical monuments and modern museum complexes, malls located near Kremlin walls where it is possible to purchase a set of various souvenirs and gifts are attractive to guests of the capital. Perhaps among 750 historical and cultural monuments of the Tatar people, Kazan Kremlin takes the leading position, as in popularity among the tourists visiting the city of Kazan and on the importance for the Tatar people.
The Kazan Kremlin was located in the center of Kazan at the beginning of Kremlyovskaya Street at Riverbanks Cauldrons. Total length of walls of the Kremlin exceeds 1.8 kilometers a little. Official entrance on the territory of the Kremlin passes through Spasskaya Tower. From outside Cauldrons to the historical and architectural reserve can be passed through the Tainitsky Tower constructed in the Middle Ages. In the 17th century there is a construction of new serfs and Posadsky walls. There are new Kazan settlements, pottery, brick, cloth, Sasikkina, soldiers, red.
The oldest and only monument of civil architecture in Kazan, the house of the owner of a cloth manufactory Miklyaev, belongs to the end of the 17th century.
At the beginning of the 18th century in Kazan several tens of administrative, cult and residential constructions, including a number of the bright buildings sustained in style of the Russian Baroque, Peter and Paul Cathedral. Naryshinsky Baroque. The Pokrovsk Temple and Bell Tower of Church of Nikolainsky are built. In 1768 the first regular plan,
a prototype of the modern general plan,
offered by the architect 1. Haftyrev is made. The building of the Kazan Spiritual School, a complex of the Admiralty Office, Church of Four Evangelists, Osakin's house are distinguished from the buildings built in the middle of the 18th century. In 1774 the city is engaged in Pugatyov's troops and the Kremlin is exposed to a siege. After leaving of Pugatyovets the most part of the city, especially its posad, burned down. This event, tragic for city life, opens the road to its radical restructuring according to the regular plan, according to which growth of the city from the west on the east and from the north on the south in a combination fan and rectangular planning systems was provided. The Kremlin, from which wide streets radially departed, Prolomnaya, Voskresensky, Arsky, remained the central point.
Bulak and Kaban Lake became other guideline of building according to the plan.
Parallel to them were planned Voznesenskaya Street, Moscow, Ekaterinas.
At a turn of the 18th-19th centuries in a city architecture classicism and an empire style began to prevail.
In 1820, the 30th year's Kazan is enriched with a masterpiece of architecture of the time, a complex of buildings of the Kazan University. The new local plan of the city was developed by the architect F.
1.
Petondi, approved in 1838 and worked till 1917. The plan provided integration of city quarters and development of the city in the southern and southwest directions. From the second half of the 19th century in city architecture eclecticism elements extend. Striking examples of such buildings are the bell tower of Church of the Epiphany built in 1897 in the Russian style. Intensively there is a building of the city, especially Tatar settlements. In Kazan brick and timber buildings of new type appear. Spectacular trade, educational, industrial, residential. Since the end of the 19th century the eclecticism is gradually succeeded by a modernist style and neoclassicism. The most noticeable buildings built in these architectural styles are Myevk's house, Shamil's house, the building of present National Bank of the Republic of Tatarstan. In general, at the beginning of the 20th century the center of Kazan had two expressed parts of urban development reflecting development of two main city national cultures. In the top part of the center, in the territory of modern Vakitovsky district, there was the Russian part of historical Kazan, which in turn was divided into aristocratic and merchant parts. The building of the Alexandrovsky Passage, the mansion of the commander of the Kazan military district, Ushakova's house, numbers and profitable houses Kakina, Chernoyorova. Akurnik is allocated here. And the working outskirts often deprived of improvement. In the territory of the modern Volga and partially Vakitovsky districts of the city is Apilakny part. Occupied by the Tatar population of Kazan, the unique ensemble of national Tatar architecture connected with the names which are issued for the Tatar history and culture was created.
Near this settlement there is also New Tatar settlement, the place of the settlement of the Tatar worker and craft population, and also the being and operating enterprises having smaller architectural cultural value.
In the late 20s, construction of the first houses of a socialist era of Kazan begins. An example of such buildings, the Murgasovsky house built in 1928.
At this time there are new industrial regions concentrated around new industrial enterprises for Kazankaya and for the Bor, including in the New Tatar settlement.
In the 1930th years in the USSR were marked by emergence of constructivism. In Kazan refer to this style buildings of the publishing house, K2 body, A, of Kirov, etc. Also the rationalistic modernist style continues to develop. For example, the body of factory of a film.
From the second half of the 1930th years in the Kazan architecture, the Stalin Empire style, the brightest representatives of this style, begins to prevail.
Buildings of chemical faculty of the Kazan University, opera and ballet theater.
From the second half of the 1950th until the end of the 1970th years, decisions in the spirit of industrialization are used.
Tatar Academic Theatre, Circus, main building of the river station.
The historic center of the city was significantly reconstructed in 1990. The ordeers within programs of liquidation of shabby housing and preparation for celebration of the millennium of the city, having lost at the same time sites of historical building and some demolished architecture monuments which for many decades of badly vindicated remain the most valuable in respect of historical building: Bauman Street, Kremlin, Mushtari, Karl Marx, Maxim Gorky, Abdullah II, and also areas of Bulak Channel and Liberty Square, the old Tatar settlement.
The remained historical buildings, including numerous cult constructions, churches, mosques, are property and sites of the city, main of which, the Kremlin, the Kol Sharif Mosque and again organized to Sochaletia Square, became hallmark of the city.
Tourists and pilgrims actively visit Peter and Paul Cathedral, the Kazansky Bogorodidsky Monastery, in which Krestovozovonsky Temple. There is an esteemed list of the Kazan icon of the Mother of God and also unique historical and architectural complexes of Reva Monastery in the island Halsvioask in the neighborhood of Kazan.
It is accepted to carry to other modern architectural sites of Kazan. Kremlyovskaya Embankment, Embankment of Kaban Lake, Puppet Theater of Akiot, Center of Family, Cauldron, Kazan Subway, Pedestrian Peterburgskaya Street, Temple of All Religions, Cultural Entertainment Complex, Pyramid, Parks of the Millennium and Kole, Wooden Town of the Tugan Avali Complex and other. In the old years in the city there was popular use of architectural elements in the form of turrets, domes and spikes, and also complex construction in neoclassical style, the Palace of Farmers and Ski, Dvortsovaya Embankment, at Palace Square, Ski, Palace Renaissance Complex, at Sultangaliev Square, the Kol Sharif Mosque. In the 21st century in the city high-rise construction became more active. Since 2008 the 85-meter 26-story Hotel Riviera became the highest building in the city. The 35-story housing estate Azure Heaven became the city's first skyscraper more than 100 meters high. Town planning. Historically outlined radial and ring planning of the city was embodied almost fully at the expense of a construction of intracity small and big rings and radial highways and also the bypass road. From residential districts of the Massachusetts multi-storied housing estate are distinguished three: the largest, the sleeping areas having more than 100,000 population, New Savinovo, Corky, Asino. The largest of peripheral settlements exclaves, Derbishki and Udino. In the city there are also several dozens of other historical and geographical residential districts, city settlements and settlements. Thanks to large-scale housing construction, the existing residential quarters are actively condensed and new residential districts of Massachusetts multi-storied building, including the Oak Grove, Forest Town, Solar City Eco Park, Kazan, the 21st century. Former takeoff. Big Krylovka, village of the Universiady and others, and also residential districts of low individual cottage building appeared and created. According to the master plan of the city, in addition to renovation of territories of industrial, warehouse, private and other invaluable building in the city, in not-used territories at the expanded city borders are planned the organization of new industrial zones at the expense of the enterprises brought out of the central parts of the city, and a construction of several new big, sleeping quarters of Massachusetts multi-storied building. Since 2011 construction along Volga of the closing side of intracity small and big city rings, and also a construction in the water area of Volga of the new and Admiralty Dam with small cottage zones along it from Riverport through the peninsula locomotive and bulk islands to the settlement of Oregino has begun. In the master plan till 2020 the main directions of growth of the city in the southeast direction are designated. Areas of Vishnyovka and Farm -2. Also intentions to attach to Kazan, contrary to the general plan expanding in the western direction, Osinovo, Orakok, Vasilyevo and other existing settlements, and also satellite towns, Salavat Cooper. Begun with a construction. And the Greendale plant were sounded. Massachusetts media. In 1941 in Kazan there was powerful 150 due broadcasting station RAR-84 that allowed to begin since September 1941 the round-the-clock broadcasting on all territory of the Republic and the neighboring areas. His station, according to a certain schedule on long and average waves, also broadcast transmissions of the cities of Kirov and Ulyanovsk, messages of TASS for newspapers, the T program for the purposes of radio navigation of air traffic. The beginning of a traditional television era in Kazan is connected with 1955, with creation of control and test television installation of the radio power plant. Public telecasting began on October 12, 1959, on Gorkovsky Highway. The TV tower 180 m high was put into operation. In 1975 on the Kazan Television Center the caller equipment appeared. On July 18, 2007 in Kazan digital on-air broadcasting started. Also in the city there is the second high-rise retranslatorny tower down the street Detroitskwood. Now in the Kazan air, including digital, 18 channels are public. List of ranges of channels. Now in Kazan 194 newspapers and 49 magazines appearing in the Russian and Tatar languages are registered. Also the Republican newspaper in the Chuvash Suver language is issued. The most popular newspaper of the city is Evening Kazan. 4 times the Russian Federation, which was recognized as the most production regional edition. Following the results of 2009, the Youth of Tatarstan was called the most production among youth editions of Russia. Communication. In Kazan 84 offices of a mail service relating to branch of Russian Post Ups Tatarstan Poktasa work. Official opening of the Kazan City Telephone Network took place 27 on November 15. 1888. At present in Kazan 4 operators of Wire Telephone Communication Act. The general capacity of a telephone network in Kazan is about 456,000 numbers. Services of IP telephony in addition to the main operators of wire communication are rendered also by 5 companies. 6 mobile operators act in the city. Beeling, Megafon, Mint, Tele Russia, Fly, Yota, and also the virtual mobile operator, Mobile State Communication acts. By the number of internet users minus 428,000 people, Kazan takes the 4th place in Russia. According to the CEO of Google Russia Vladimir Dolgov, Kazan, the largest center of information technology development, level of penetration of the internet makes 75% here, that is a record across Russia. Services of access to worldwide network in Kazan are provided by 15 operators. The most popular forms of internet access are cable networks and ADSL. Popular earlier dial-up practically lost the positions, at the same time wireless Wi-Fi and WiMAX technologies actively develop. This Kartel company started the Russia's first LEED network. On August 30, 2012 in the Kazan Park, the ceremony of start of a communication network of the 4th generation was held. 4G LEED. The LEED network in Kazan was started at once by 3 operators, NL Skartel, Yota Trademark, Osk Megafon and Jest Mints. And on June 27, 2014 start of LEED network of the mobile operator took place, Fly. Sport. Kazan is one of the cities of Russia which are most developed in the sports plan. The city hosted 2 World Ice Hockey Championships with a ball in 2005 and 2011, the Summer Universiade of 2013, the World Fencing Championship of 2014, the World Cup in Water Sports of 2015, the Cup of Confederations 2017, and also repeatedly became the venue of sports competitions of various levels. In 2009 the city became the venue of the All-Russian Forum, Russia, the Sports Power. In 2009 Kazan got the National Award, Cold Team of Russia, in the Sports Capital nomination. In 2018 the city hosted matches of the FIFA World Cup. In December 2019 in Kazan there passed the Grand Russian Cup final on cybersport based on the Volga Region State Academy of Physical Culture, Sport and Tourism. The city is one of leaders in number of victories in different types of sport, including on the main team sports. Football Club Rubin, Hockey Club Laska Bars, Unix Basketball Club, Volleyball Clubs Zenit and Dynamo, Bandini Club Dynamo, Field Hockey, Water Polo Club Sintas, Built in 3 years prior to holding the Universiadi-2013, the village of the Universiadi is used as a students' campus. It will also be used as the federal center of training of national teams of Russia. Since 2010, the Volga Region Academy of Physical Culture, Sport and Tourism is created. There is a set of large sporting venues, Russian and world class, including a number of the unique and only objects in the country on some sports.
Such arenas as Centralny Stadium, Basket Hall, Tatneft Arena, the Kazan Academy of Tennis, the Center of Field Hockey, the Center of Volleyball, the Palace of Single Combats, Laska Bars, the Rowing Channel on the Lake, the Average Board, the Palace of Water Sports and some other objects are capable to host the international competitions of the highest level. In the summer of 2013, the new stadium, Kazan Arena, with a capacity of audience which became the main arena of the Summer Universiadi, is open and hosted matches of the FIFA World Cup of 2018.
The Kazan Hippodrome, the largest in Russia and one of the largest in Europe. Near the city, the year-round alpine skiing and sports resort of Kazan, the center of archery and a crossbow in Sviazk, the Parachute and Aviasports Center in Kirkachak work in the Zelenodolsk district. 2 football arenas of Kazan. Central and Kazan Arena have the status of OAA stadiums of the highest 4th category. In Kazan, many people entered the name in world and Russian history were born or worked. In science, first of all, the creator of non-Euclidean geometry, Nikolai Lobachevsky, numerous representatives of the Kazan Chemical School, standing at the origins of organic chemistry, and also founders of medical schools are known. There lived the writer Leo Tolstoy. Evgeny Schwartz was born.
In art, the Big Glory was purchased by opera singers Fyodor Shilipin, Vladimir Vasilyev, Mikhail Kozakov, poets Kamenov, Boratinsky, Klebnikov, Derzhavin and Dalil, the artist Impressionist Feshin, actors Vasily Kachalov, Leonid Filatov.
The deputy of the State Duma of the Russian Empire of the A convocation from the Kazan province, Pyotr Andreevich Yershov, lived and worked, and in his family the son Vsevolod Petrovich Yershov, the intelligence agent, was born during the Great Patriotic War, the participant of the Battle of Stalingrad, the journalist, the scriptwriter known Ronikolno, the documentary, Pages of the Battle of Stalingrad. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.